Hey, good morning, everybody. I hope you guys are doing great today. Looking forward to seeing you guys on Wednesday for our next leadership development workshop. But before we get there, today we're going to talk about this thing called trust. Trust is something that moves at the speed of your relationships. And as I thought about today, as I thought about what we were going to be talking about, what we talked about last week, what we're talking about this week, I know last week we talked about that cultivating team harmony. It starts with you, it requires seasoned speech, it's built on trust, it demands teamwork, it elevates accountability. Those are the things we talked about last week. Today, I want to dig in a little deeper and let's talk about this thing called trust. When we talk about trust, trust is confidence. It's confidence in somebody else. It's confidence in their work ethic. It's confidence in their behavior. It's confidence in their track record. It's confidence in who they are as a person. Trust is confidence. And when we think about this thing called trust, there's a story in the Bible. It's really, really cool. It's in Numbers chapter 12, verses 1 through 7. I think Ryan might have put up the verse 7 on the board. But the story is that Moses had a couple of siblings. One was a guy named Aaron. The other one was a sister. Her name was Miriam, and they were gossiping. They were gossiping about Moses. And as they were gossiping about Moses, God heard what they were saying and literally called them out. Like he brought out Miriam, he brought out Aaron, he brought out Moses, and he confronted him, like held them accountable to the things that they were saying. They were saying things about Moses that was just gossip. Nothing like really, really mean, but like in a spirit of jealousy or something. They were just not content. And they were talking poorly about Moses. They were talking about Moses' relationships. They were talking about Moses' status. They were just talking about Moses, and God heard him and God called him out. And God was very clear with Miriam and Aaron. And here's what God said. He said, Moses is the one I trust. And he also said, I speak to Moses face to face. There was a trustworthy relationship that God had with Moses. And I think that story in Numbers 12 helps to set up what we're going to talk about just for a little bit this morning. So as we dig into trust, here's some things I want you to get. First of all, trust is confidence. So let's just define it really quick. Trust is confidence. And as we think about trust and confidence, there are four things that I want you to take away. First of all, trust is capital. Without trust, four things are going to happen. First of all, the team's effectiveness the team will not be effective. Period. There will not be any effectiveness. It's going to stunt that. Secondly, the team will never grow. It will not grow in terms of its numbers on the team, and it will not grow in terms of its relational teamwork. It won't grow. It's going to stagnate. Third, when it comes to team, turnover will be high on the team. So people will leave. They're going to come, they're going to go. So turnover is going to be high. Fourth, morale is going to be low. So trust is capital. So it's like money in the bank. Without it, you can't do anything with it. Okay, you just keep going into debt. That's not good. Secondly, I want you to understand that trust is a gift. Trust is a gift. And when we talk about a gift, we're entering into this season of Thanksgiving and Christmas. Some of you already have your Christmas stuff decorated. I know Pam's got her office all decorated up with Christmas. The office, Brandy's got stuff already set up in there for Christmas. People are excited about Christmas. It's the time of giving. But when you receive a gift, it's a gift. You guard it. You treasure it. You're thankful for the gift. Trust is that. It is a gift that somebody is giving to you. So what do you do with that? You guard it and you treasure it. So trust is a gift. Third, trust is built on the following 6 pillars. And these are in your notes. These following 6 pillars are huge. First, now when you think about pillars, I want you to picture in your mind this beautiful mansion, this white, big Southern Belle plantation. And on the front of this big house, it has 6 big columns, these 6 pillars that exist. These pillars, all right, that house is trust, all right? That house represents trust. It's beautiful. It's a gift. It's capital. It is valuable to the team. But the trust factor, the house of trust is built on these 6 pillars. First is vulnerability and authenticity. I had a person in my life who basically confronted me. There was an issue that I was dealing with, and he confronted me with this issue that I was experiencing personally, and I felt like I needed to share this publicly with people in my life because I felt like it was going to be a healing agent in my life. And he came up to me and said, "You need to keep that silent. You don't need to share this with anybody. It will do you more harm than good." And really what I want to do is punch him in the mouth because he didn't really know what he was saying. And I wanted to be vulnerable and authentic because maybe there's somebody else was dealing with the same stuff that I was dealing with. So I needed to be vulnerable and authentic with what was going on in my life. And when I did that, there were more people that were bought in, and that it elevated the level of trust that I had with them and they had with me. Vulnerability and authenticity, 2 sides of the same coin. Secondly, integrity. We're going to do the right thing. It's one of our core values. Let's do the right thing. If we say we're going to do it, let's do it. So people of integrity. Trust is built on integrity. Trust is also built on accountability. Go back to Moses and Miriam and Aaron and God. And God calls out Miriam and Aaron for their gossip. God held them accountable. And accountability is critical to team effectiveness. You got to hold people. We're all accountable. We're all accountable to each other. We're a team. And we have different teams within our teams. So we got to be accountable to one another. Number 4, the pillar of understanding. The pillar of understanding, it helps us to understand what's going on outside of work. What's going on in our lives outside of work? That may be some external pressures that we may be experiencing that limit the capacity of what we're doing in our work. When that happens, it's really easy and I've been on the receiving end of this, when capacity is lowered because of what's going on externally in our lives, understanding is at a low. And when that happens and your job performance suffers, a lot of times the first thing we want to do is criticize and get rid of somebody. We don't need to do that. We need to understand what's going on in their life, be kind, be compassionate, hold them accountable, and give them grace. But that's when the team can come together and rally around that person and help them to overcome what their challenges that they're facing. So the pillar of understanding is critical. Number 5, the pillar of execution. In other words, we're creating a track record. What's your track record? Do you do what you say you're going to do? Is your behavior something that it's just you're consistent? It is that pillar of consistency, that pillar of execution, that you are getting it done. All right. And then finally, the pillar of face-to-face conversations. God did it with Moses. It was face-to-face. So face-to-face conversations are critical. Not email, not text. Trust is built on the pillar of face-to-face conversations. All right. Finally, trust is restored. Trust is going to be broken. Let's face it. It's going to be broken. But trust is restored with personal responsibility. It is restored with forgiveness. And it is restored with not repeating the same behavior. In other words, you're establishing a new track record. So, trust is capital. Trust is a gift. Trust is built on pillars, the 6 pillars, and then trust is restored with personal responsibility, forgiveness, and setting up and establishing a new track record. I hope you guys have a great day today. I love you. I'm looking forward to seeing you on Wednesday as we continue our leadership development workshop on the 21 days to your best year ever. Have an awesome day.